Hi guys, in this video I'm going to walk through with you the steps that you need to take in order to answer the type of questions that ask you to design and describe an experiment. So this is the third page of the Metals Mind Map, which I briefly lay out the steps. Okay, so this is the design and describe an experiment, and in short, you need to follow these 4 steps. Okay, step 1 is to draw the diagram, just to sketch a very simple one, even though the question doesn't ask you to do so. Step 2 would be to write down the steps, and then after that the observations, and finally conclusion. So conclusion will be the part that ties your answer to the question. Let's take a look at the question. Okay, so this is 2020 O-Level paper 3 question 5b. 2020 paper 3 question 5b. The alcohols ethanol and propanol. So there are 2 alcohol here. One is ethanol, the other one is propanol. Can both be used during surgery for cleansing. Both are oxidized to acids when left open to the atmosphere. The acidic products of their oxidation limit their ability to clean. So basically what it says, what it's saying is that alcohol oxidize, okay, by the oxygen in the air to form acid. So this acid would be the carboxylic acid, which is a weak acid. So suggest how you would determine in the lab which of these 2 alcohols is more quickly oxidized by air. Include all the measurements you would take. So step 1, diagram. Just sketch a very simple diagram, even though the question doesn't ask for it. So you can actually use test tube, and then you can put some ethanol inside. There are 2 alcohol, ethanol and propanol. So it would be good to give a specific volume, a specific amount of the ethanol. So you can just put 5 cm3. So anytime when you want to give a volume or a mass, right, you can either use 5 or 10. So 5 cm3 or 10 cm3, 5 gram or 10 gram, you would go wrong. Okay, so 5 cm3 of ethanol. So it needs to be exposed to the air, to the oxygen in the air, then it will be oxidized to form acid. So how do you detect the presence of acid? So you can use the universal indicator. Okay, universal indicator. How much of a universal indicator? You can just put 2 drops. 2 drops of universal indicator. So when the universal indicator is added to the ethanol, what color would it change to? It will change to green, because ethanol is neutral. And you can do the same thing for the other alcohol, which in this case is 5 cm3 propanol. And then same thing, you have 2 drops. So 2 drops of universal indicator. In fact, you can just put it like that. 2 drops of universal indicator to each of the 2 test tubes. Okay, that's the first step, the diagram. Very simple diagram. Okay, then after that, the steps. So what would be the steps? So basically, you just write down whatever that I've measured just now, which is put 5 cm3. 5 cm3 of ethanol. 5 cm3 of ethanol into a test tube. Then after that, add 2 drops of universal indicator. Okay, I just use short form, okay, so that the video will not become very long. Okay, into the test tube. So you have to write down the observation as well, which means that the solution turns green. Alright, then after that, you need to start a stopwatch, because you need to measure the time taken for the solution to turn from green to yellow, which is acidic, which is weak acid. So you have to start a stopwatch to record the time needed, for the solution to turn from green to yellow. Okay, not enough space. Then after that, so this would be the test tube on the left hand side, which is the ethanol. Then you can just say that repeat step 1, 2, 3 for propanol. So the key is to describe the steps for one experiment first. Then after that, you can just say repeat the steps for the other experiment, for propanol in this case. And then finally, so these are the steps, and then also it also includes the observation. Okay, 1 to 4 are the steps, also included the observation, which is the solution turns color from green to yellow. And finally, we need to write down the conclusion. So how do you answer the question? And the question actually asks you which of these 2 alcohol is more quickly oxidized by air. So that would be the number 5. So you can just say that the alcohol that turns that turns from the alcohol that turns from green to yellow in a shorter time. In a shorter time is the one that is more quickly oxidized by air. Yeah, if it changes color in a shorter time, then that's the alcohol that is more quickly oxidized by air. Yeah, again, the steps are the diagram. Okay, this is the first step, diagram. The second step would be to write down all the steps. How do you go about doing the experiment? And then in those steps, you need to write down the observation, what would happen, what you see, and then finally would be the conclusion. How do you answer this question? Which of these two alcohols is more quickly oxidized by air? Let's look at the second example. So you can actually pause the video and write down your answer and compare your answer with my answer. So it's very important that whenever you use the chemical, always put a number to it, like volume, just write 5 or 10 cm cube. And then let's say you need to use a solid, put a mass on it, 5 or 10 gram. This is 2017 paper 3, question 11A part 2. 2017 paper 3, question 11A part 2. Describe a laboratory experiment. Okay, describe a laboratory experiment, investigation that can be used to decide which of two different alloy of iron is more resistant to rusting. So we have to let the alloy of iron to rust. So you got to expose it to oxygen as well as to moisture. You're provided with two alloys as very, very thin metal foil, so like aluminum foil. So step 1, draw the diagram. So a very, very simple diagram. So this, you can use a test tube and then the metal foil. Now, how much metal foil do you use? Now, it's very difficult to weigh two metal foils of the same mass. Yeah, very, very difficult to do that. So what you can do is you can just weigh the metal foil. Then after that, find out the percentage increase in mass. Okay, so later on we'll talk about that. Then you can immerse the metal foil in some water so that the rusting will be faster. So how much water? Just 10 cm cube will do. 10 cm cube of water. So this is alloy. Let's say alloy A, and then do the same thing for alloy B. Water, and then another alloy. So this is alloy B. Alright. So your first step would be to weigh the alloy, the metal foil, and record the mass. Then when it rusts, right, the mass of the alloy will increase. Yeah, because it will be oxidized. It will become oxide. So the mass will definitely increase. So iron will become iron 2 and then subsequently iron 3 oxide. That's why the mass will increase. So we find out the percentage increase in mass. So the first thing is you need to weigh. Okay, you need to weigh alloy A. Alloy A. Okay, record the mass. Record the mass. Okay, then you put. Okay, let's talk about the first experiment first for alloy A. Put the alloy in a test tube filled with 10 cm cube of water. Then leave the test tube for 2 days. No, actually, after this you can repeat. Repeat step 1 and 2 for alloy B. Then after that, leave the test tube for 2 days. Leave the test tube for several days. You can just put a number for 2 days. So for 2 days, I think the rust will form. Then you can write down what will happen. Okay, the alloy will be oxidized. Will be oxidized. Then after that, so after 2 days, what do? You have to take the alloy out. Okay, take the alloy out, and then you have to weigh it, right, so that you can find the percentage increase in mass. Take the alloy out and dry it and weigh it. Okay, dry it with what? With filter paper. With filter paper, and weight it. So calculate the percentage increase in mass. Calculate the percentage increase in mass. How do you calculate the percentage increase in mass? So you have to write down the formula. Percentage increase in mass would be the change in mass, right? The increase in mass, which is, how do you find the increase in mass? New mass minus initial mass. Initial mass is the one that we do it here. Okay, new mass minus initial mass divided by initial mass times 100%. Yeah, that would be the percent increase in mass. And then with this percentage increase in mass, what do you do? How do you conclude? Then that would be the step 7. The step 7 would be the alloy, which give the lower increase, lower percentage increase in mass is the one that is more resistant, is the one that is more resistant to rusting, which basically ties back to the question, which of it is more resistant? Because if it is more resistant, right, then the amount of rust form will be lesser, which means that the increase in mass is lower. All right, so in short, follow the steps, draw a very simple diagram. Okay, draw a very simple diagram. Then after that, lay down the steps. And then in your steps, you should have some explanation and some observation. Yeah, so for example, you say that, okay, you leave the test tube for 2 days, right? Then after that, the alloy will be oxidized. And then finally, the conclusion, which is to answer this question. Which of the two alloys of iron is more resistant to corrosion, more resistant to rusting? So how do you tell? From the percentage increase in mass. So the one that is lower in the percentage increase in mass is the one that is more resistant to rusting. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.